Как поживаете? My name is Karl Kastин, and I'm a retired battalion chief in charge of operations training for Central San Mateo County. So I served 34 years in the fire department, and I presently serve as a task force leader on California Task Force 3, which is one of 28 FEMA rescue teams in the United States of America. I also serve as an incident support team member as a division group supervisor for the national FEMA team that goes out in front of our rescue teams to set up for all our operational needs. In my time with the FEMA rescue teams, I've had the privilege of serving with the teams and responding to first Hurricane Iniki in 1992, and then in Oklahoma City at the bombing in 1995 as a rescue squad officer. In New York 9/11 at the Trade Center attack, I responded and worked as a rescue team manager for all subsurface operations at Ground Zero. During Hurricane Katrina, I worked as a rescue team manager for our 3-week assignment there, and was responsible for all our amphibious water rescue operations, and work presently now for the federal government, like I said, to be responsible for training all FEMA team members and to work in managing the teams that come out during current deployments. Well, we first met Dan Pommeroy in the Pommeroya drill. It was in the early 1990s, and it was after the FEMA teams had just started after the Loma Prieta earthquake, and he came out to our rescue site and wanted us to test his core drill. He wanted us to give it a try and see what we thought of it. You know, immediately from the very first opportunity we got to work with the tool, and especially work with Dan, the manufacturer, we were very impressed on, number one, on its speed, its capability of cutting through and drilling through concrete, and its portability. I mean, I think that was the biggest need that we had on our list was, can we take that piece of equipment and use it very mobile, very quick, and be portable with it, you know, to where we could go into a building that had been collapsed and carry it with us. Where traditionally core saws are very heavy, the Pommeroy was a very light, simple tool to use. So we were impressed with it at the very beginning. We've taken it. We got that piece of equipment right in the early 1990s, and the very first test that we put it through was a pretty exceptional challenge, which is at the Oklahoma City bombing. The picture that I have in the background there is of us on the 9th floor of the Oklahoma City Federal Building, where we're actually core drilling through the concrete so that we could sling it with cables and remove these cantilever sections that were hanging over the rescuers from below and remove the hazards from our work area. So we had gotten a chance to work with this in training 6 months before this major deployment. We were the only team in the United States that had that tool at the time, so we got asked to do this operation, and it went very successful. It was an incredible test of the equipment in a very extreme condition. Well, because of the condition of the structure, the federal building had been bombed, and there was a great portion of the building that had been collapsed. So basically all the equipment we brought into the building had to be equipment we had to carry by hand. And that's probably one of the big differences between the Pommeroy drill and most conventional core saws, is that most conventional core saws are very heavy, they work off of vehicles, they work off of streets, where the Pommeroy is a very light, portable piece of equipment. And not only was it easy for us to move anywhere in the building that we went, but it was also easy for us to secure as we were hanging off the sides of the building. Not only were we able to add rope systems on our team members, but we were able to put a rope system on the Pommeroy to help stabilize it and put it in position for our personnel to use it. So its ability to be able to be portable and how lightweight it was, and also too its ease of use in very difficult environments, both flat surface and on angle, really proved to be an exceptional piece of equipment for us. So in this photograph, I'm actually being lowered on a two-line system. You have a main and a safety line system that's on a harness, a pelvic and a chest harness. And basically there's a section of the slab that has been broken off, and it was hanging over where the rescue work was occurring over what we call the daycare center. During the bombing, there was an area in the building that had children that were being taken care of that were buried underneath a lot of concrete. And as we were starting to dig that concrete out, we realized we had a tremendous amount of hazardous condition above our head. So what we did is, I was lowered out to the center of the slab where we had marked where we wanted to core saw 2 holes. And then we were going to sling the slab with cable and then have our cranes come and lift up and pick this slab level so it would expose the rebar. We were able to cut the rebar away, and the slabs we were able to remove the slabs from the building to reduce the hazards for all the rescuers below. So the core saw was also a piece of equipment that didn't create a lot of vibration, and it was a stable piece of equipment where we could create those openings through the concrete without jackhammering and destabilizing that section or creating a bunch of concrete raining down below the core saw. Once we were able to core drill through, we could take it off, we could tap it, we could remove that piece of concrete, and literally nothing fell from our area, our work area. So when California Task Force 3, when we arrived on scene, local authority and rescue team members had recovered 33 bodies out of approximately 168 bodies. We stayed until the 165th body was removed from the building. The entire time that we were there, we were in rescue mode, which means we believed that there could be survivors. So we moved 24 hours. We did 24 hours operation. We found no survivors, but we removed and brought home many people to the family members. And the core saw really helped us because it basically not only allowed us to be able to safely remove a lot of that concrete, but it allowed us to be able to open up holes in areas so that we could see through to the other side, to see if maybe somebody, if they were alive, that what we were going to do was going to hurt them further. So it was a very difficult operation, but this was one piece of equipment that performed extremely well in some very difficult conditions. One of the primary uses that we use it for right now is to be able to penetrate without deteriorating the concrete. The nice thing about the core saw is it's able to quickly give us an opening so that we could get a search camera in to basically see into void space. It's one of the #1 reasons that we carry it with our search team aspect on our FEMA teams, is that our search team could rapidly create an opening into a void space, drop a search camera or a communication device in to be able to look or to communicate to people that are on the other side. So it's a commonly used piece of equipment now. Well, the difficult challenge for fire department and rescue team operations is when you have a wide area collapse in an earthquake situation, you have limited amounts of people and equipment. And so before you commit your rescue team to an area and you're going to go to work, you want to know in that area, in that void space, are there people alive? And one of the benefits of having the Pommeroya core drill is that you can quickly get in to see what's in there and make a decision. Is this area here a higher priority than this area over here to work? So it basically helps you to triage your priority and what you want to do for work. And I think when time is a limited factor, you need equipment that could help give you an advantage when you don't have much time, because hour by hour people are perishing in an earthquake situation, so you want to get to the most people as quickly as you can. And one of the advantages of the core draw is you're able to see and understand what you have versus working in the blind. So one of the primary uses for the Pomeroya core drill for fire and rescue personnel is to be able to visualize, to be able to see inside of void spaces. A lot of times we might hear or get reports that we have victims trapped on the other side of a piece of a concrete, but the problem or the challenge is that it takes time to cut through that, and before we spend all that time, we want to be able to visualize where the victims are, how many victims are they alive, and what's below us. What do we have to look out for before we start cutting through the concrete? So the nice thing about the Pomeroya drill, similar to the picture up here, is we can get a team rapidly up here, set up the drill, be able to core drill a 2-inch drill opening, send in our search camera, and be able to visualize our victim, the victim status, and also to be able to visualize all the debris, the structural members of the space itself, so we get an idea of what the hazards are on the other side. We could set in gas detection, so we can do atmospheric monitoring. We could take our hazardous material samples to see what type of hazardous atmosphere and conditions are on the other side of this before we commit to going in and spending the time to breach the concrete to go in and remove victims. So after we've located our victims and we know that it's a viable space and we want to penetrate and go through the concrete, what we could do is, a lot of times we'll use the core saw. So here's a top view of the slab, and here is the initial core opening. Well, then what we'll do is we'll take the core saw and we can take and do a total of 3 core drills, and then what we can do is we can either use one of our circular saws and connect these together and remove this triangle. We tend to use the triangles. It's just a 3-sided cut. It saves, instead of creating and making a box, it just saves our blades and all of our equipment, and we're able to fit our victims and our personnel into the void space. You can also use the core saw to just drill out even more and make these drill or cut areas even smaller. So you can use the core saw to go all the way around and make the opening, or you can use it in conjunction with other concrete cutting equipment. But a very valuable tool, very portable, very quick to use, so that now we can basically create an opening to go inside and get our victims out. For the sections of concrete that were broken off in the Oklahoma City bombing and partially hanging over rescuers that were working below, we sent rescuers out onto the slabs using the core drill to basically drill through the concrete, creating, basically, we would use it and we would connect 3 holes together to create a large enough hole side by side, so that we could pass through cable slings with eyes that we could connect to our crane ops and basically lift up the slabs, exposing the rebar, then cutting the rebar and removing the slabs all together away from the building, making it a much safer work zone for the rescuers down below.